There are many things that can be a trigger for an autoimmune condition. When discussing triggers, we also have to take into account biological variability. What may be a trigger for one person may not be the same for another. Also, some people may have a genetic tolerance for a lot of stressors, and some do not. So let's talk about some of the main triggers that can contribute to autoimmune conditions. Weakened microbiome. The status of your gut health is vital to your overall health. Your microbiome, the millions of bacteria residing in your gut, are responsible for 80% of your immune system. In addition, your microbiome also controls your brain, hormones, and genetic expression. Parasitic, yeast, and fungal infections have all been implicated in a variety of autoimmune type conditions such as MS and Parkinson's. Also, important to note that you don't necessarily have to be experiencing gastrointestinal symptoms to be affected by these pathogens. By running a microbiome stool test to measure the levels of good and bad bacteria, we can see if there are any yeast overgrowth, such as Candida, to rule out any parasitic infection and assess digestion and absorption to help you understand your unique microbiome issues. SIBO. SIBO stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This occurs when normal bacteria of the microbiome grows from the large intestines into the small intestines where they don't belong. Here, the bacteria eats what you eat and ferments the food in the wrong area. Gas happens when food is fermented. When it is fermented in the wrong area, this leads to stomach pains, bloating, and cramping. It can also lead to a number of localized autoimmune spectrum conditions such as IBS and acid reflux. SIBO can also lead to leaky gut syndrome, which then causes autoimmune problems throughout the body. We would normally run a lactulose breath test. This lab measures the gases, methane and hydrogen, to see if small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is an underlying issue in your case. Leaky gut syndrome. Functional medicine considers a leaky gut a precursor to autoimmunity. All of the triggers we will be discussing can lead to leaky gut syndrome. Because of this, a leaky gut can be seen as a trigger, but also the effect that proceeds from an autoimmune condition. When your gut is damaged, undigested food proteins and bacterial endotoxins can pass through the protective gut lining, turning on an autoimmune reaction throughout the body. In order to determine if you have leaky gut syndrome, you will need to have an intestinal permeability lab to look for an elevation of three things: zonulin and occludin antibodies. These are the proteins that govern gut lining permeability. Antibodies could indicate that there's damage to the intestinal tight junctions. Actomyosin antibodies, this could be indicating that there are destruction of a healthy gut lining. And lipopolysaccharides, or LPS antibodies. LPS are bacterial endotoxins in your gut. If antibodies are found in your blood, this could indicate leaky gut syndrome. Candida overgrowth. Candida is typically a shortened reference for the Candida albicans fungus, which is actually the most common yeast that can be found in small amounts of a healthy gastrointestinal system. A part of the collective microbiome, the cornerstone to every system of your body. A problem arises when the microbiome is weakened, causing a decrease in good bacteria and an overgrowth of opportunistic bacteria, parasites, or yeast. This dysbiosis can be due to stress, chronic illness, medications, poor diet, or a combination of any of these.